Hi, and welcome to Journey Forward with Jory Rose, where you will gain insights, tools, and inspiration to get unstuck and live your best life. Jory is a licensed marriage and family therapist with a passion for helping people cultivate awareness and authenticity so they can show up fully in all aspects of their life. And now, here's Jory.
Hey everyone, welcome back. This is Jory Rose, and today's guest is coming to you from one of the interviews from our Surviving to Thriving Summit, How to Grow Through Adversity During the Pandemic. All of the interviews in the summit are so amazing, but Emily's was one of my favorite because I always learned so much from her on how to shift my mindset and relationship to bring more abundance into my life. So if you want to find out more from the summit, please check out the show notes, survivingtothriving.site. We are still in the midst of releasing these interviews, and you can register at any time. They are free for 30 days, but you can also get lifetime access. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I hope that you're doing well. Enjoy today's episode.
I am really grateful for my friend Emily King coming to us from Canada today in sharing her wisdom of money, mindset, and magic that she brings so much beautiful spirit to. Emily, welcome to the summit.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
So I gave you a little bit of an introduction and not sure it was 100% of an accurate one. So in your own words, please tell our viewers about yourself and what it is that you do.
You know what? This is not my typical spiel, but you know what I'm going to say? If there's anything money related that you need help with, I'm your gal. Money mindset stuff. So I think no better time now, especially pandemic time, to talk about the money stuff. But in my day-to-day, I work with women entrepreneurs to help them grow their businesses, but we do it from a money mindset perspective, which then bleeds out into all other areas of our lives. But that's
you have what I love about you, Emily, is you've got the really practical, but you also bring the woo-woo.
Oh yeah, I'm the woo.
When you say it bleeds into all other aspects of our lives, money touches every part of our emotions, every part of our story, our family history. How do you begin to connect with people of connecting to what their money story is?
I find the best way is actually to, explore, okay, what's our next action that we want to take? And I find that once the client or the person attempts to start to take those actions, if there is a block that is present from, the past family history or whatever's going on up in their minds, what happens is as they take the action, they come against the roadblock, and then we can dig in to say, okay, what's going on here? So for example, somebody might come to me saying, oh, I have this new business that I want to start. And I'm like, great, let's do it. Let's get your name out there. And then all of a sudden it's like they're hiding, and it's like, okay, well, why are we hiding? And then we might dig a little deeper to explore, well, my mom told me when I was growing up that I was worthless and I would never amount to anything. Well, going to be a really hard time growing a business and serving and helping people if you believe at a core level that you're worthless, right? It's heartbreaking, but true for some people out there.
Sure. Those old stories are pervasive. And that's so much of the work that I do is let's let go of the stories holding us back.
Absolutely. It's everything.
And how does the money piece really fit in once you get to past those roadblocks? What do you see as a result?
Oh, it is the most rewarding thing in the world, because I would say the number one thing that I see is confidence. And part of my mission, which might kind of rub people the wrong way initially, is to empower women. In particular, I work with women, to empower women through the use of money. Which might be like, what? Like, you can't say money empowers people. But if you can understand the reason why people aren't receiving money in their lives, once they start receiving the money, they understand their worth, they understand their value, they have much more confidence, they're serving, they're much more happy, they have boundaries, because a lot of times if people are diminishing their value and their worth, they're giving things away for free. They're letting clients walk all over them. Maybe they haven't asked for the promotion, whatever it is. And it really just shrinks their soul, so to speak.
As a therapist, I also see how it also keeps women potentially in unhealthy relationships out of fear of not being with a partner, for fear of not having financial security. So you're also providing women an opportunity or an option of independence.
Absolutely. And it's like, I've seen this with clients as well. If they're with a husband that's not a great match for them, you might go back to earlier childhood memories where it's just like, they believe that women don't have a voice, like our voice doesn't matter. So that's huge. If you're with a partner, giving away your power to them, to then say, you know what, I'm going to do me. I'm going to step out into the world and independently create my own financial abundance. So it's very empowering when you can link these two things of like the financial wealth and empowerment with like personal empowerment. It's really cool to watch and observe.
I bet. And right now, I think what probably almost every single person on the planet, regardless of their actual connection to money, meaning, you know, how much is in your bank, no matter what, I imagine people are feeling an immense amount of fear.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, again, as a therapist, when I work with people around fear, a lot of fear is anxiety based on a future unknown of a what if.
Yep.
And it's very different to say a what if versus what is. Because right now the fear is actual reality based, not just fear based. Like, you know, the stock market's going down, businesses are closing. So what would you speak to people around this fear that maybe is making them not feel confident in creating something as a business, as an entrepreneur right now, or even just in maintaining their relationship to money when there's so much fear going on?
Yeah, great question. And in any time, because here's the thing, and I think Tony Robbins might have said this at one point, but essentially like any idiot can feel good when things are going good, to put it quite bluntly. When things are going bad, how you respond to it is really the test, so to speak. And that's not to shame anyone if you're having a bad time with that. It's not to say you failed at this test, but that's really when we can
just good information to notice, maybe, right?
Yes.
So
yes,
rather
exactly.
than judge it, just notice, oh, well, that's interesting. Look how much I'm reacting.
Yes, exactly. Be like, yeah, this is interesting kind of thing. Okay, this is a situation that's very uncomfortable, very uncertain, and I'm responding in XYZ way. How would I like to respond differently? So I find that one of the key things is to, as best as you can, stay in the abundance mindset, which can seem very difficult when either you've lost your job or money is tight or things are uncertain and that kind of thing. So what you can do is there's a couple things. One is to bless your bills. So if
that sounds fun. Tell me more.
Yeah. So for example, we actually bought a second property even during this pandemic, right? And so we had to pay for an inspector to come and do his little thing with the house to make sure it's all good. And so I got his bill. And this was like right at the peak of, you know, everything going haywire with this COVID thing. And I got that bill and I saw it was $603.75. And I blessed that bill so much. I was like, I am so grateful that I get to pay someone during this time. I'm so grateful I get to support someone's business. He gets to put food on the table. He gets to have a roof over his head and support his family. I'm so grateful that he even gets to work so that I can support him. So grateful for the money that I have to support him. So it was just like finding all the gratitude that I possibly could, instead of being like, great, here's another bill to add to the pile, or, you know, times are tight. So even if times are tight, find the blessing in it of like,
I love that, Emily. It's so simple and yet so powerful. And it does create a whole mindset shift.
Because if you think about it, it's a privilege to have a cell phone bill. Because some people in this world don't get to have a cell phone bill because it's not offered where they are. Some people don't get to have the privilege of having a heat and light bill because they don't have a roof over their head. So if you put it into that perspective, and especially now that we have to physically distance ourselves from people, and so most of us are staying home and what a blessing it is to have a warm, inviting home. What a blessing it is to have your Netflix subscription so you can entertain yourselves in the evening, whatever it is. So finding the blessing despite what's going on externally. If you can find that blessing internally, it's like you've won the game, so to speak. Yeah. So Yeah.
So I'm going to continue to push this a little bit because I know there's a lot of people suffering out there. So I love the ability to see your bill as an offering to the services to allow that person to continue their livelihood. How would you respond to someone who's saying, but Emily, I don't have the $600 right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really not able to find the blessing in this because maybe the food that it gives him to put on the table is taken away from my ability to do X, Y, or Z.
Yeah.
So I'm going back to lack. I'm going back to the lack mindset because that's where I'm safe. That's where I'm comfortable. That's what I know how to do.
Yeah. So I say acknowledge the fear, but live in the solution. Meaning,
again, so simple. Okay.
Yeah. You can acknowledge like, this really sucks that I have this bill and I don't have the money in my bank account to pay my rent, to pay whatever. So it's like letting that out, because as soon as the interesting thing is, as soon as you get it out of up here, the head, and you just say it out loud, whether you say it to a friend, a partner, just say it out loud to yourself, it's a strange thing, but it starts to take the power away from it. So just saying it and then going, okay, I don't have the money to pay that. And this sucks. And this feels like it really sucks. And so here's the transition into the solution space, is finding whatever little like mustard seed of faith that you can. And I know that this isn't forever.
Yeah.
If that's your best, if that's like your 1 degree shift, then so be it, because that's better than staying, down here
on that trajectory. Right.
Yeah. So we just slightly adjusted it.
And one of the things, the smallest word you just said there is one of my most favorite words, which I'm going to highlight for our viewers, which was the word and. Because so many people say the word but.
Yeah.
And as soon as you say but, you've negated both for being true.
Yeah.
And if you can replace but with and allow both to be true, that's huge shift in and of itself. This sucks and I'm going to get through it.
Yeah. Like I'm getting
this
chills.
sucks and I'm already getting through it. This sucks and it's not permanent.
Yeah.
This sucks and it's okay to cry.
Yeah.
And it's okay to feel whatever I'm feeling. It's the and there.
Yeah.
Because if you don't go with the and, then I think you stay completely stuck and you can't do the 1% shift.
Yeah, exactly. And whatever someone's spiritual religious background is, I would even offer up a prayer, whether you want to call it to God, universe, source, whatever, maybe nothing. You just offer it up to air. But just like stating out loud, and I would love some support with this. God, I would love your support with this and guidance. Universe, I can't feel you right now. So I'm really asking, I'm putting in a big request to really make your presence known. Right.
This is a really important thing because I also have noticed in the work that I do, people are afraid to ask for what they want. And secondly, they're not only afraid to ask for what they want, which behind that can be a variety of stories, right? I'm not worthy. I mean, the same thing with the money mindset, right? I'm not worthy. I don't have the knowledge to know that I will receive it. So I'm going to go with why should I ask? It's not going to happen anyway. So one challenge I see is people in asking, hey, universe, all right, give me what you got because I need some extra resources here. I'm open.
Yeah.
And then the second piece to that, I'm curious in your perspective, how can I now receive it?
Well, to start with step 1, you got to ask for it in order to receive it.
Yeah.
And I'll add this for people to practice, because if you feel like, if you're sitting here like, I feel like I don't really ask for what I want all that much. Well, practice it in terms of like, I wouldn't compromise on your ask. Like really practice going for it. And even if it's not, you actually ask someone like, hey, I really need help with XYZ, but just either writing it out. I would love to have full support to pay my rent this month, to pay my heat and light this month, to pay my whatever, my car payment, like get it all out, get your wish list out, because there's a saying that I love. What does it go? It says, you have not because you ask not. And it's so true. And I'm living, walking, breathing proof that, and this is what I preach and will say to the day I die is you have to ask for what you want, despite circumstances looking otherwise. Even my financial goal, just as an example, this month, I kept going for it financially with my expanding what's possible. I didn't know how, nothing on paper made sense, but I said, you know what? I'm just like, here's the thing. Asking is free. The universe,
I love that.
The universe isn't going to be like, oh, that's you have a double ask. Well, that's twice the price to ask for that.
Yeah.
Asking is free. So if it's free, let's just let ourselves ask. And so this month I did what I would consider in my mind a big ask. And
with all the quarantining and baking, we might get a big ass out of it too. I don't know.
And the universe delivered, like out of nowhere. The universe was like, here you go. Here's that money for you. I was like, what? Like, where did this come from? Like totally out of like what I would ever imagine. So.
And I know part of that, and I know that you and I have talked about this in the past, that, you know, for those skeptics out there, it's not just manifestation and then just sitting back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I believe I'm a big manifester, and I've manifested quite a bit, but I also know I take a shitload of action.
Yeah, exactly. So that gets into the receiving part. So one of my favorite things to do, and I stole this off of Mike Dooley, he has the triangle exercise. I don't know if you've ever heard about it before. Mm. So basically, and I don't know why it's a triangle, it's just really two columns. But on one side of the paper, the page, you put your part. So you do your 50%. So you write down all the things. So say, you know, you're like, I'm going to reach out to 5 new potential clients this week. I'll do a Facebook ad. I will do whatever. You'll write down your part of all the things you can think of like, these are all the possible steps I could take, and like, just fill the page. And then the other side, you're going to write down the things that are kind of outside your control that you would like to ask the universe, God, source, to kind of swoop in and help you with. For me, it might be something like, it could even be like, God, please help me stay in the belief of this. Please help my faith stay strong. Support me around this difficult conversation I need to have with so-and-so. Help me sleep better at night. You know, it might be something like that. Like all the things that you can't logically get the how, but you're just like, this is what I would really like support with. And the cool thing is I had this happen back in January. I did this with a goal that I had with my membership. I wanted to hit a certain target with it. And I did this 50-50 thing. And I went through one day and I was like on a mission. I just kept highlighting all the things. Okay, that done. I got that action step taken. This done. Perfect. And one of the things on the universe's side was to refer me a lot of new clients. And literally like minutes after me writing, universe, I would love to get a lot of referrals to my membership. I was speaking to a woman who was a client of mine, and she's like, you know what? I think like Susie and Mary and blah, blah, like they would really love your membership. I'm going to like share your link with them. And I'm like, thank you, universe. Like amazing. Yeah.
And I think the third component of that too, where I know, again, on my end, so I'm curious with your perspective, a lot of people get stuck is having a non-attachment to the outcome. So I'm going to write down my 50%. I'm going to ask the universe, but I also can't get so caught up in it.
Yeah.
Because you got to release that intention as well. If we hold on, I mean, I feel, and in my experience and what I see so much professionally, we hold on so tight sometimes to those asks.
Yeah.
That we're not able to receive because we're like too much grasping and clinging.
Yeah. And what I like to say to that is stop being a control freak with the universe, because nobody likes a control freak. It's like, if you've ever experienced, you know, working with someone or dealing with someone who is that control freak, you kind of have that moment of like, whether you externally say it or internally, you're just like, oh my God, will you leave me alone? I know what I'm doing. Like, I got the steps. If you would just leave me alone, I could do my thing. And sometimes we treat the universe like that, where we're just like, are you sure you took care of this? Are you sure you didn't miss that? Are you blah, blah, like, but this hasn't happened on this timeline. And the universe, like I have this image of the universe up there just being like, oh my God, will you just calm down for a minute and trust me?
Yeah.
And so one of my favorite sayings is this or something better.
Yeah.
So even that house that I touched on just a moment ago, we put an offer in on that back on December 1st. We put an offer in. They declined. So be it. I loved the house. I thought it'd be great. I'm like, okay, cool. Not meant to be right now. If it is meant to be, this or something better. lo and behold, it comes back. They kept lowering and lowering their price. We put the exact same offer in. 4 months later, got accepted.
Yeah.
And it's better because now with the pandemic going on, the Bank of Canada has lowered the prime rate. And so my mortgage is like next to nothing for this house because the interest rates are just so low. So it really was this and something even better happened.
Yeah. I want to share a short story of something that happened to me recently that I shared during one of the other interviews, but I really want to say it again because it was such highlighting something so simple for me where my intentions can be really big, but I get stuck in the receiving. You know, for so many of us in the beginning of all this, and people were kind of fear-based shopping for food and supplies and everything.
Yeah.
It seemed like the hottest commodities were obviously toilet paper and flour because people were baking all the time. I couldn't find flour for the life of me. And my daughters just wanted to bake. And I saw this acquaintance on Facebook who I don't know all that well, but lives locally, baking up a ton. And I also know her, they have connections to a restaurant. So maybe it was getting sourced from the restaurant. But I commented on the Facebook post, wow, where are you getting all the flour? Like, I would love to know because my daughters really want to bake. In the back of my head, I thought, well, I know she's got connections to restaurant. Maybe she would extend some extra. But I don't know her all that well. And I would never come out and ask because that really felt, who am I to say I need flour? Everyone needs flour.
Yeah.
And she commented on the post and didn't say anything about where she got the flour and just said, thanks for looking at my scones or whatever it was. A couple hours later, she sent me a DM in my Facebook and said, hey, I have an extra half bag of flour. I'm going to leave it on my porch. Would you like to come pick it up?
Oh my God.
And my immediate response was to think, oh, no, that's okay. Like, I don't need your flour. I don't want to take your flour from you. You keep your flour and thank you so much for offering, but no, that's okay. I stopped myself and I was like, wait a second. I put out to the universe, I wanted some flour.
Yeah.
And here was someone who I don't know all that well saying, hey, I've got some flour. Would you like some flour? Why would I have said no?
Yeah.
And I had a really, it's such a silly example, but it highlights exactly what you're talking about of I asked for it, I got it, and then I almost turned it down because I felt like, why would, is she doing this out of obligation? Like what's her, and I said, maybe it feels good to her for her to share and give. And so I had to embrace the receiving.
Yeah.
And you know what? I drove to her house and I picked up the flour on her porch and left her a thank you note. And I think we all felt really good. But I could say the same thing about money at times.
Absolutely.
Right? Like to me, this highlighted what else in my life am I asking for that I'm being offered that for some reason I'm saying, oh, no, it's okay. Someone else needs the flour more. Or, you know what? I don't really need the flour because then I'm just going to gain weight from eating all the baked goods. Like my justifications. But it was such a simple example that I think we could all see a connection to in so many different ways about our mindset, our worth, our asking, our receiving. And in talking about money right now, I just feel like, wow, I needed to share it. I mean, I didn't go into the whole story that long in the other summit interview, but I think it's important to share our fear around, well, if I take it from you, does that take away from you? Am I worthy enough to have some of what you have? Is there enough to go around?
Yeah, a big mantra that came up for me recently, actually, because I have like new goals of mine. And like I said at the beginning of this interview, once you start to take the action is when the blocks come up. And so the block came up of the deserving it, right? And so I had a moment where it was just like, I deserve to be the woman who hits this goal. Like, I deserve to be that woman. And it just like had me crying the good tears because it was like really like embracing that, like, oh my God, like I am deserving. Yeah. And so to the people listening, that might be a nice mantra to take home and practice saying, like, I deserve to have the flour. Like, as silly as it may sound, like really starting small with that.
Yeah, because that flour is a euphemism for everything.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. I deserve to have the flour. I deserve to get the paycheck from my employer. I deserve whatever it is. You deserve it.
Yeah.
And don't
And
feel
there's a
bad
lot of
about
people,
it.
I'm sure right now, who are listening going, oh, wait, I that feels icky, or that feels selfish, but that person over there is suffering more, so they deserve it more than me. And one of the things that I always say, in the roots of what I teach is, the fundamentals of mindfulness rooted in Buddhist meditation practice, which is all designed as a framework and contemplative way of being to reduce our suffering. I always say suffering has no hierarchy. If you start comparing suffering, because I don't know, even with this whole quarantine, last summer, my daughters and my mom and I were in Amsterdam. I was on a month-long trip to Europe, and we went to the Anne Frank house. And, that's suffering. Forget the Holocaust part. That's like immense suffering. I'm talking specifically being in that small house with 10 people for 2.5 years. So anyone in quarantine right now, and I know that we can't start comparing it, but like, if we start comparing, then I'm going to negate what I'm feeling if I'm having a hard time. Because if I only say to myself, well, at least I'm not in the Anne Frank house. Okay, well, but what about my real struggles? Mine are still real.
Yes.
So it's nice to have a baseline to reality check and to not stay in comparison mind. You got to do both at the same time.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, it's like give yourself perspective, but also honor your feelings.
100%. 100%. Because if you just stay in the, in the comparison, you're never going to feel like your suffering's worthy of acknowledging.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah. So bless your bills. I love that. And you started to say that was one of the first things, which kind of led us into this whole other thing. Any other kind of big mindset shifts that people can start to make right now? And I know that we'll narrow it down, but just in general of when you do your work with clients.
Yeah. So one of the biggest things that I find helpful is, and I don't know if you and I talked about this before, but miracle moments, finding the miracles, which is, along the same strain of the blessing your bills, but, so there's many ways that miracles can happen in our lives. So I define, or the Course in Miracles defines miracles as a shift from fear to love, right? So just straight up, it's like getting out of that fear, lack, scarcity mindset and shifting into love, abundance, all that goodness. And what I find really helpful, and it's along the same lines as like a gratitude practice, but with a little extra to it, is that sometimes I find as humans in this physical world, we only see God, universe, helping us out when it's a physical thing that has come into our lives, a new home, a new client, a check in the bank, whatever. We see the tangible as like, okay, now all is well, But when we start to expand our perception of what a miracle is, then we can get into really good stuff. So let me give you an example. A friend and I have reconnected, and we've been chatting now every single week. And that bond that we've had, and those chats and the support that we've given each other has been invaluable. That hasn't given me a tangible thing per se yet. I think it could, but that's going to be noted as a miracle for me. That is a miracle moment that I had this connection that came out of nowhere. We just, saw each other on Instagram. Hey, do you want to have a chat? And now we have this amazing bond where we chat every week. It might even be, if you can, especially now, if you can acknowledge a day where you feel good, even a minute where you feel good, that's a friggin' miracle. If you're like, I don't have any kids, but for people who have like toddlers, infants, that kind of stuff, your kid has a good nap, like that's a miracle, right?
Yeah.
So acknowledging all the little things that you possibly can during this time is really helpful to stay in that positive mindset. And me in particular, working with entrepreneurs and business owners, I kind of shifted towards how are all these things happening to help you grow your business, to help you get your product and service out there. But it can apply to anyone. If you run a business, you can start to notice how these things do help you. Like, for example, the person that I'm connecting with each week, we're sharing business ideas, and it's just been amazing. And I know that the business ideas she's sharing with me is going to help me grow my business. And then I will have a miracle where it is a tangible thing that's come from it.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And, in the language of how I would say that, it's understanding how our brains get pulled into the negativity bias. But our
Mhm.
brains have been designed to focus on the negative. And so
Yep.
one of the ways to get out of that habit, which all it is a bad habit
Mhm.
that we didn't form consciously, it's just our brain design. You got to have the awareness when you're being pulled into that. Once you have the awareness, you can say, I can continue to focus on the negative, or I can shift my attention to focus on the positive, look for the good. Because the more you look for it, you start to see it through different lenses, the more you're going to see it.
And I got to share this. It just reminded me of something. I have a joy jar on my desk.
Ooh.
And so what I do is I cut up these little pieces of paper for the month. Actually, I got to dump this because we're in a new month now. I dump them and I keep them. But for a month, this jar will hold a miracle or some blessing or gift or wonderful thing that happened from that day. And for me and any audience member out there, like, it's like, you might have good intentions of finding the gratitude, but for me, this helps me like, oh, right, it's here physically on my desk. Okay, write something down that you're grateful for. So it's my joy jar where I write down something, and it is amazing to take out those slips after a month and read 30 odd slips and just be like, wow, I truly am blessed and supported. And I feel it's so important to write it down because, yeah, in the moment you can be, oh, you know, today it's one of the hottest days of the year we've had thus far. Oh, it's a beautiful sunny day, you know, so warm. I'm going to go out for a walk. Wonderful. Tomorrow I might completely forget about that wonderful moment.
Yeah.
So when I go back to this and I at the end of the month read them all out, it's like, wow, I would have completely forgotten about all those blessings that happened throughout the month had I not written them down and like kept track of them.
I love that. I love that. When I had you on my podcast a few months back, one of my most favorite things that you said that has really stuck with me, and I've shared this with people, and then someone even threw it right back at me after I said it too, because I had already forgotten how quickly, you know, to take it in. But you had said, if you're wanting to earn a certain amount of money each month, $5,000 a month, $10,000 a month, whatever it is that you're wanting to bring in, how you shift the way that you look at what you want to bring in. Do you remember exactly what you said? So will you share with us? Because this was one of the biggest pieces that I took away from that talk that I think right now is so helpful.
Yeah. So let's say that you're like, I would love to, you know, make $5,000 this month. Well, instead of thinking, how can I get $5,000 this month? What client do I need to bring on? How can I get? Is how can I give $5,000 of value into the world this month?
Emily, that was like mind blow shift for me.
Yeah.
It was amazing. I think about that all the time.
It just feels so good. And I even catch myself, like I was writing down my goals for this coming month, and it's probably one of the biggest goals I've had yet. And I started to get into the getting mode of it. And it's just like, okay, pause, breathe. How can I give this of value into the world? And it completely shifted the energy. And it was just like, oh my God, I can't wait to give that value into this world. Like, yeah, it's a game changer.
So do you journal? Do you like, what are some of your practices? Because so we saw your joy jar. So what are some of the practices that maybe people who are listening who are like, okay, I love everything she's saying. Conceptually, it makes sense, but how can I tangibly start to step into that space? So what are some of the things, daily, weekly, monthly practices to really be the CEO of your own life, which is what, you know, what you're talking about?
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you do?
Yeah, I mean, I journal pretty much every day, and my clients kept asking, how do you journal? And when I actually gave them a course on it, it ended up being 14 different ways that I do it. But I'll give kind of the highlights, I guess. But what I want to start by saying is I feel that one of the biggest obstacles to people journaling or having that time for themselves is the perfectionism of it, where they're like, how long should I write for? What nice, neat book should I write this in? But it's like, if you have 10 different journals on the go, so be it. And like, if you write 2 sentences, if you decide to write 20 pages, perfect. Don't put rules on your personal time to be with yourself. So these are suggestions maybe to help guide people. So one of the things that I love to do is, a friend of mine came up with this because we were talking about the what if, like down where you go down the rabbit hole. What if this happens? Or what if that happens? And you get into the like, oh God, headspace. So my friend calls it the what if upping. And so you start to what if up it. So what if, let's just say someone's been laid off. What if I get back to work on Monday? What if my child, their behavior starts turning around? What if I have the best possible day I've ever had today? What if we go on the most magical bike ride and we have so much fun and whatever? So you just start what if upping yourself. It really gets you in a good feeling space. Another thing that I love doing is, and it's kind of along the same lines, is writing in the future tense as if it's already happened. So, and what I love, actually, I can't take credit for this. I heard Joel Osteen say it once. He said, praise precedes the victory. So if there's something that you desire, and Abraham Hicks, I actually pulled this up because I want to share this with you. Abraham Hicks, she has this wonderful quote that I love where she says, you can get to where you want to be from wherever you are, but you must stop spending so much time noticing and talking about what you do not like about where you are. Mm. So if we want to change our circumstances, we have to start to give thanks, give appreciation, give gratitude as if the thing has already happened, which I know people out there, if you're skeptical at all, listen, be skeptical and try it. It's if you try it, you don't like it, you really lost nothing. So write, as an example, I might write at the beginning of this month, assuming that all my goals and wonderful things happen this month. Thank you, God, so much for your support that I felt fully this month. I felt so in flow. My clients that have signed up are absolutely amazing. I'm so excited to work with them. I've had so much fun. I felt so inspired. The people that I got to connect with was amazing. My list has now grown by 1,000 people, whatever it is, add in all the things thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm so grateful. Because the interesting thing is, as you're writing these things, the brain assumes that it's reality. So you're kind of tricking the brain in the moment that, oh, okay, we do have all these things. Okay, cool. I didn't think we did, but all right. And then if you do that over and over and over and over and over again, the brain's going to start to think that it is your reality, and it's going to start to pick up on the opportunities as you go out into the actual reality and be like, oh, do this thing, or oh.
And that's the brain science behind that. You're activating the reticular activation system, which when I learned about this, I loved. And the reticular activation system is the part of your brain that filters out excess information and brings from the background to the foreground of your awareness. Yeah. And studies actually show that highly successful people do intention setting. And this intention setting, whether it's through a vision board, through journaling, writing it down, and you stick with that practice and you keep it in your awareness, that's it literally gives your brain the opportunity to help you out.
Oh, totally. Yeah. It's you're brain hacking.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I
might
love
as well.
That. I love that. So journaling, all the different various ways of journaling. So you do that as part of your practice. Anything else that you do?
I meditate daily. In particular now, there's a fantastic book I recommend. It's called The Abundance Book by John Randolph Price. And it's a little pocket, oh, here it is. A little tiny pocket-sized book, and it's not even 100 pages. I think it's, 79 pages. So it's a really quick read. But in this book, he offers up this 40-day prosperity program. And so for every day, you meditate on the statements he provides for 15 minutes a day, and then you journal on it. So I'm on day 25 now of that program. And I meditate regularly anyways, but my clients that really, I don't want to say push themselves, but really, I hate using the word push, but I'll say push themselves.
Step into that space.
Challenge themselves. There we go. Challenge themselves to commit to the 40 days. They are just wowed by what can happen when they take that time for them. And they don't come from backgrounds of meditating every day, and maybe they only do it once in a blue moon. And then when they're you know what, I'm going to commit to this for 40 days, the comments and the messages that I get, it's just amazing, where they're Emily, I cannot describe to you how good I feel. And that's the best thing that I could ever hear.
Okay. So all you viewers out there who are watching, raise your hand with me if I'm going to go buy the Abundance Book.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of these things, they sound great conceptually, but I think we all need, and me included, and I even guide, I have a Journey Forward Facebook group that I lead daily meditations and mindfulness tools. And part of the reason, I'll be honest, that I guide it daily is so I stay in practice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Like, I'll be honest, like, this is a completely self-serving thing for me to be doing because it makes sure I do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I also don't want to tell all of you guys, hey, this is what I'm doing, and I'm actually not doing it. So let me do it with you and let me guide you in it, because if I'm guiding you, I'm also practicing every single time I teach. I am guiding a meditation. I'm talking about a mindfulness tool. It's not just a one and done. And I say this all the time. It's a practice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I love that so much. Emily, I could keep talking to you for hours and hours because I love the energy and spirit you bring to this work. And I just want to ask one last quick question before we wrap it up. But I know since you work with entrepreneurs, there's a lot of fear around starting or building a business right now. Do you have just any final thought on, giving any advice to especially women, since that's who your Zone of Genius works with, around this idea of, oh, it's not a good time to do that? What would you say to that?
Oh, like, it is the perfect time to do it. Honestly, I'm not just saying that to try to like cheer people up, like, you can do it. Seriously, because here's the thing is that typically speaking, especially if it's a service-based thing that you're kind of dabbling in or whatever, you either do it, people tend to do like, workshops for free. They're kind of getting their name out there and just building that community type thing, or doing it for a lower rate than they might in the real world. And so, not that someone has to do it this way, but I just know me personally, when I started, that's kind of how my journey started. And so it's like, wow, people are craving support right now. And so for you to be able to show up and give of your things like that, give of your services, products, that kind of thing, it's just such a wonderful time to build a community. Even if you have a physical product that you sell, this isn't to say everyone has to go discount their services or products or anything like that, but you could do fun giveaways. Like, I saw this woman the other day. So this banner behind me has wonderful statements on it that says, like, the universe has my back, I am enough. It has cute little statements. The woman who makes those, she made ones for nurses, right? And her business is fairly new. And so she made empowering statements for nurses to help support them. And she's doing a really cool thing now where she's like, 20% of all proceeds from these banners go towards whatever hospitals in her local city. And I was like, see, this is freaking awesome, where these businesses are stepping up and like, I'm going to connect with these different communities, show that I care, show that I'm passionate, I'm a good, kind-hearted person. And people like that builds loyalty like nothing else. Like, when I saw it, I was like, that woman is awesome. So I think it's a brilliant time to really get yourself out there, start connecting, doing some networking online, getting creative, having fun with it, and just, there's no better time. I love it. I love the opportunity.
I love it so much. Emily, thank you so much for being part of the summit. And I know that, many of our guests are offering a free gift.
Yes.
And could you speak a little bit to that to entice people to check that out?
So right now we have the abundance meditation up on my website. So that's a really beautiful meditation, but actually by the time maybe this goes live, it will probably be changed to the new thing we're putting up there, which is going to be that meditation plus a few others to help you out. So embrace your desires, next level meditation. And there's also my affirmation recording there too, that you can listen to when you go to sleep at night. So there's going to be a whole bundle of things that you can just put your email in, your name, and it'll get sent right to your inbox.
Thank you so much for everything that you've shared. I always love talking with you, and I know that everyone listening has probably gained so many nuggets of wisdom, both for their relationship to money, for their ability to be an entrepreneur, but just the life hacks of how to live with a better mindset. So thank you for all the work that you're doing and being in service of the world. I know it is greatly needed and greatly appreciated.
Thank you. You guys are amazing.
All right, be well.
To continue your journey forward, find Jory Rose on Facebook and Instagram to become part of her growing community. You can also gain access to her meditations, books, online classes, or to sign up for an upcoming retreat, visit her at joryrose.com. That's JOREEROSE.com.